on the one hand, we have very good relations with US. Likewise, we have historically had good relations with Russia. What do you think is geopolitically the opportunity or threat for India here?
We were not a very major economic part till 1991, but we were always a non-aligned country. Actually, both these wars have not really impacted India in a negative way.
Sure.
If at all, it has impacted us in a positive way.
Do you think India, should be pursuing Ukraine as a new ally?
Ukraine has to be rebuilt out. There's opportunity in infrastructure build out.
The infrastructure sector of India has become a huge strength. So I think rebuilding of the entire infrastructure is definitely an option.
US has signed up this rare earth deal with Ukraine.
Yeah.
So why does India not get a part of that rare earth?
And of course, there's always technology where we are the dark horse who can provide technology at very cheap rates.
I think India will play a pragmatic role. So I think it's a golden opportunity.
Tariffs are bound to have an impact on consumption, on the rate at which our economy grows. What are some of the ways in which India can look to mitigate the effects of these tariffs? How do we ensure that we continue to grow at 6-7%?
I think there will be a give and take negotiation. There's also a trade agreement which is getting worked out with the US. India is a consumption-driven economy. The Americans need this market to sell their goods. Tariffs have never been good.
There are, lot of talks about different metrics under which, different, people have, including the government, have set targets for India, right? Like, PM Modi has talked about Viksit Bharat by 2047, and there are, others who have talked about, putting India as a 10 trillion economy by 2032 and so on. So I will pick the one that is closest to where we are today, 2032. We are at about 3.5 trillion now. So do you, really think we are on the path, is my first question. And what could we be doing better to get to the 10 trillion economy by 2032 or maybe even sooner?
So I'm going to disappoint you here.
Okay.
With our current
uncluttered view.
uncluttered, yes.
Yeah.
So this is my view again,
Indeed.
personal view. Our growth rates have fallen below 7%. Even 6, I heard this quarter, we may not even touch 6%. So we have some challenges there. If we want to achieve 10 trillion, we'll have to grow at 10 to 11% a year.
Okay.
So we are now like in a T20 match.
Okay.
So every year which we are growing at 6%, we are making that rate higher, asking rate higher. So I'm not saying impossible. You never know what can change, and everything moves on. But at the moment, there's only once when I saw India growing at 11%. So even if we grow at 9, 10, possibly we can hit the 10 trillion. And we should also factor in the amount of rupee devaluation that will take place along the way. So it'll become just harder to get the $10 trillion. So in rupee terms, you may get it, but dollar terms may also be a far-fetched. So I think, so if we want to get there, the first thing we'll have to do is completely rejuvenate our manufacturing, our regulations, our GST regulations. We have to get the agri sector firing. See, because 2-3 things happen. If the agri sector and the small and medium sector industries start growing, if they start growing, we will not only fuel jobs for them, because we have put money into that place, and I would say we would also put money into the hands for consumption, which will further fuel the economy. So I think there are various things which one could do, and I would, we keep giving all these grants and other things to different people. I would say maybe the government can consider a universal basic income for every Indian.
Okay.
Universal. I'm just throwing this thought out there.
Sure.
A universal basic income, because if you get it or I get it, we're not going to spend it. We'll go and invest it somewhere, or we'll do something else, or may spend part of it. You give it at that level, it'll immediately be spent. So the universal basic income, so everybody's taken care of in the sense, and then the smarter ones earn more money and they go on.
And how would you fund that? Would you fund that with a little increase in some taxes, or would you?
So I'll be a little this thing out here. we do so much digital transactions.
Right.
We didn't talk about it, but India has got the maximum number of digital
Of course.
transactions. If we say that digital transactions above a particular value, that is the transactions you and I do.
Of course.
If there's a very small tax, 0.001, kind of charge, tax, I would not say charge, all that gets put into a fund, and you see the number of trillions of transactions that are taking place. You can see the kind of funds they will have, be able to create non-tax revenues. You may say it's a kind of a tax, but it's a non-tax revenue for doing these digital transactions. And I think, or there could be other ways in which one could work. I mean, you'll have to get somebody to sit down and work very deeply to find out. I'm just giving one
where
thought.
the efficiencies could be.
Where the efficiencies could be got in. Because if you look at it, a lot of waste of money takes place in the way projects get handled. And if we can save a lot of that money and make India an attractive destination.
Right. I mean, in some ways, the old PDS system was kind of dismantled because they found that there was a lot of corruption.
Yes,
there.
absolutely.
Nothing is reaching the people it's meant to. So they've started doing those direct
benefit transfers.
Cash transfers. So what you're suggesting is make it a more permanent thing where people below a certain economic level are guaranteed that basic things, so they don't have to worry about feeding their families.
Yes.
And then they can think about the bigger picture. And
and if people want to do better, they can go and earn. And so I can see the problem is this demographic dividend should not become a demographic liability. I think that's important because the youth is coming up. If they're not getting educated, not getting skilled, we didn't speak about skilling.
Indeed.
But skilling is a big area.
We only have a short...
I know, I understand.
Otherwise, I agree with you. Skilling, that's a pet grouse of mine as well. We say that we have so many graduates every year, but it is a real problem that, there are many universities which are very subpar, generating not very employable graduates.
Yeah, there's one more big area where India can grow actually. It is the AI services,
of course.
like we did in GCC, where we got outsourcing done. I think this will be even bigger than GCC.
Okay.
AI services, because you're not gone for AI products. Though I know somewhere the Prime Minister announced I'm looking to build a product, but let's presume that may or may not happen. But AI services could be really big.
Could you elaborate on that? What do you mean by what kind of services, for example?
So everybody who's developing AI products needs services for that. You need to service those kind of installations and whatever you're doing.
Okay.
AI. So, and also providing support systems to everybody, the ecosystem. India has got the maximum number of engineers, or one of the largest number of, other than China maybe. And we could use this to do it at scale, and we can take the first mover advantage again here. So I was thinking that's another area which could grow.
I see.
Yeah.
No, that's very interesting. And I don't hear much being talked about the services part of it.
Sure.
Though, of course, it probably gets subsumed under the IT services umbrella in some way or the other.
Yes.
But that's a great suggestion as well.
Sure.
And I certainly hope that this discussion has been useful to the audience, and we hope that some of the suggestions that have been put forward are taken up by the government. And I will repeat this point that PM Modi's government has a very historic opportunity because they've been elected for the third time in a row, and that kind of gives them the ability to put in place some very big and bold measures. And I think if they do that, as Richard said, this definitely is India's decade, and no one can take it away from us. But equally, if we don't, I think all work towards it. Of course, I don't want to start a new debate about the 70 hours versus 100 hours. That's already happened. But it's more. I will say that I think all of us need to work towards this national goal. Obviously, we all have to work towards our personal goals as well. But as a collective, we need to have some goals to achieve. And I think there's a historic opportunity for all of us to get there. And thank you, Richard, for being here today in the Uncluttered View. And I really enjoyed and found it very insightful and educational, hearing your views on a lot of these issues. I hope to have many more such discussions with you. But thank you very much. I really appreciate your joining us today.
Thank you, Vijay, and thank you for having me here. I learned a lot of things. I learned a lot about Ukraine, which I didn't know. I'm taking that away.
Maybe we should offline talk about it.
Yes, yeah. It is a great opportunity, but I think there are so many opportunities. But really, I enjoyed my time. I think the time just flew by, and thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely, it's a pleasure to have you.
Yeah.
And I hope the content is useful for our audience as well.
Sure.
Thank you.